The Audubon Center has really become this bridge between the larger regional community and the local community, and it gives me great hope for what the future of Arizona and the future of Phoenix will be, with these families integrating and working together, especially our children that are out there exploring nature together and working together, understanding the value of the land and the vegetation and the wildlife that exists there. It really excites me to, especially for my children, to be a part of that, and to see families come out in droves from the local schools and from our local church and community participate in the Enchanted Trail or the Migration Celebration. They get bigger and bigger each year, and hopefully it'll continue to draw people, to connect people with nature, to connect people with the community, and really be that bridge for the valley that Phoenix really needs.
Audubon, Arizona set out to build a nature education center led by Randy Bain, the great board chair. We set out to build the Nina Mason Pulliam Rio Salado Audubon Center. Hiring key staff early on, Randy Schilling as development director, Tice Sipley, head of science, and of course Sarah, head of education, was really key to our success. But what would we have done without our volunteers? We're always there with the necessary efforts to make things a success. We work closely with 8, now 9 chapters across the state, and we relied on the city and Karen Williams to provide a guiding hand. This collaboration, sort of what nature provides, weaving a web, led to the successful launch of the Nina Mason Pulliam Rio Salado Audubon Center. Congratulations to all of you who were so involved.
For over a decade, I was in the city manager's office with the city of Phoenix as the Rio Salado project director. What a joy for me this last Thursday when I was at the Nature Center for Birds and Beer, and I watched 150 adults mingling and learning about the environment. Because most of those visitors have no idea what it took to create the riverbed into an asset today. And with the Army Corps of Engineers and the Flood Control District of Maricopa County, their expertise, their financial support, but more importantly, the private support that came from the National Audubon Society to create this wonderful award-winning center. It's the greatest accomplishment in my life. I have great respect for the Audubon Board, for the first director of the Audubon, Sam Capana, and now the very smart leadership of Sarah Porter. So with great joy and a heartfelt happy birthday, happy 5th birthday, Rio Salado Audubon.
Yeah, this is my 3rd year volunteering at the Audubon Bird Sanctuary. I came as a volunteer because I lived in this neighborhood when I was growing up, and I was really pleased to see what they had done cleaning up the river. And so I decided to volunteer to keep it that way, and that's one of the reasons I volunteer, and I've enjoyed the years I've worked here.
I had the opportunity to ask Olivia, age 11, a Camp Audubon participant, if the Audubon Center didn't exist, would you know as much about birds and wildlife? She responded, "Definitely not. Audubon taught me about keeping the wild as it is, leave no trace. I wouldn't have known all that if I didn't go to the Audubon Center. You don't want to pick up rocks and eggs so other people can experience them too. They taught me a lot about wildlife, and especially like learning about the beavers, like they have a waterproof grease coat and cause floods sometimes. They're good and bad. And like cotton trees, that inside their pods, if you open them up, there's tiny white insects. I learned so much interesting stuff. Audubon is so cool."
I am grateful for the programs and opportunities that the Rio Salado Audubon Center has been able to provide for both myself and my students. The curriculum is loved by all those who participate, 7th through 12th grade, and the field trips help to bring the classroom work to life. Several students have even been inspired to intern with Audubon. Having students engaged to the point of service is something we all wish to attain, not to mention the monthly volunteer opportunities that both our National Honor Society students and others were able to participate in, giving our students a look into what it means to help conserve and protect the environment and animals around us. Eva Gilliam, teacher, Science Department, Crestview Preparatory.
It has occurred to me that whenever I began thinking about what I was going to say, I pictured myself outside on the center's patio, looking over the pond and onto the cityscape, just in the moments when we have everything set up but the children haven't yet arrived. It was always a beautiful scene, and, despite the road and the airport, full of a magical stillness. There was so much that might happen once the children arrived, so much to see and so little time to show them. So this may sound a little fanciful, but the only way I can describe the Audubon Center is as an enchanted door ready to take the children into the world of nature, just the place for a Pied Piper with binoculars such as myself.
On one of the many trips that we do for school-aged children, I noticed a young girl who was paying more attention to the rocks at our feet than the birds and the bushes and the trees that I was directing the other kids to look at. I walked over to her and asked her if she liked rocks, and she said yes, she did. And then I said, well, maybe you'll grow up to be a scientist who studies rocks one day. And she looked at me and asked, well, do scientists study rocks? And I said, yes. They call them geologists. I said, let me show you something. And so the rock she had in her hand, I had the binoculars that she'd never used, turned them around so that they became magnifying glass, and she looked at the rock, and she had this expression of joy on her face when she said, oh my gosh, it sparkles. And I could tell right then that she had made a connection with nature and maybe a possible path for her life.
My big sister was the naturalist. She had the field guide and the binoculars. I followed her around. We even named all the birds in our yard. There was an Audubon sanctuary in the town where we grew up. We were there almost every weekend with the experts. When I was 7 years old, I got my own pair of binoculars. One of these expert birders took the time and showed me how to use them. I saw my first belted kingfisher over the pond that day. Since then, Audubon has been an integral part of my life. I became ecstatic when I heard National Audubon wanted to build a nature center in Central Phoenix. I knew this is where I wanted to spend the rest of my time as a volunteer, and perhaps one day to teach a 7-year-old how to use those binoculars to spot a green heron in the pond and continue the cycle of nature.
So what's really interesting is that in our community, people are referring to us as the Audubon, like the store, the bank. They go to the Audubon, and here they get information about what they can do to make their environment better, our environment better. I am so proud of our programs because I feel like they are very proactive. They're very hopeful. People get engaged, they get excited, and I'm really happy to share the quote that I heard that to birds, Audubon is what hope looks like, and I see that each day. I know that we still have a lot of work to do, but I feel that we're headed in the right direction.
I was very happy to be a part of the center's opening. I was intrigued by Audubon's staff because they represented people coming together who were passionate about connecting people with nature. After learning about the bird watching that goes on in Rio Salado, I knew that this was going to be good. The Audubon Center getting their feet wet and programmed and reaching out to the South Phoenix community made me realize the importance of partnership. The center has become a driving force in terms of outreach and communication and has helped to create a united front with the city of Phoenix. We are working hard to combine our efforts to promote natural resources and environmental stewardship. Winston Lyons, Park Ranger, City of Phoenix.